everyone. Today we'll be talking about relational satisfaction, specifically regarding infertile women. And if you want to read any of the articles that I used to make this presentation, you have their DOIs available on the bottom left corner here on the screen. So, of course, it's important to know that not all spouses struggling with infertility react the same way. Some feel an increased sense of intimacy and proximity, identity advantages in overcoming adversities together, and appreciate building a new purpose in life. Some may experience more conflict and decreased ability to understand each other, feel frustrated or lacking in some way, and feel reluctant to reveal themselves in a romantic way. And also some can find themselves with positive and negative responses at the same time. And most find themselves going back and forth between good and bad experiences. Assessing and being mindful of a partner's behavior and perceiving their emotions, intentions, and views are important predictors of relationship functioning. Why? Why are they so important? So according to the theory of interdependence, in close relationships, a partner's perception and behavior are not independent of the other partner way of living, of their own way of perceiving the world, their own way of behaving, their way of communicating. So the partner's perceptions and behaviors are linked and they sort of influence each other. Both partners mutually affect each other's actions and reactions, thoughts and feelings, and eventually, of course, marital satisfaction and overall quality of life. In romantic relationships, individuals influence each other by giving meaning to their behaviors, which consequently forms their opinion on the quality of that relationship. Those important predictors that we mentioned can be elaborated through communication, whether verbal or nonverbal. Communication of positive events contributes to relationship satisfaction in women and men alike. And the communication of stressful experiences carries the risk of reducing relationship satisfaction, even if only temporarily. But explicit communication in a stressful situation increases the likelihood of the other person responding adequately as a result of getting the message right and showing support, understanding, and kindness towards the supported partner. So partners who openly share their stress and concerns are more satisfied with their relationship, and the way the stressed partner chooses to communicate has an impact on the other partner's dyadic coping. Basically, what this means is that communication has an impact on marital satisfaction and, of course, in the way that people cope with the things that they go through. If we think about effective communication, this is a rather vague concept, but we can break it down into these slices right here. We have openness, commitment, ability to accept others' point of view, mindfulness, and accurate recognition of the partner's feelings. So effective communication is composed by the ability of being open and committed, by the ability of accepting that other people might think differently and feel differently from us, being mindful of ourselves and others and of the situation, and accurate recognition of partners' feelings, again, having the ability to be empathic. Effective communication reduces the negative effects of interpersonal conflicts and results in higher satisfaction with the relationship. Open interpersonal communication is one of the manifestations of openness. Openness in a relationship is the ability to reveal one's feelings, thoughts, needs, fears, etc. This is linked to individual and relational well-being, and it is more important than expressing emotions or interacting on a regular basis. This is one of the most desirable characteristics in a partner. It leads to a higher satisfaction with a relationship, effective coping with stress, and it also decreases conflicts and the breakdown of relationships. So openness determines the quality of communication between spouses, as we've seen before, and it is considered a key feature in romantic relationships. Sharing difficult emotions may decrease satisfaction with the relationship, as we have talked about before. However, the way we share these difficult emotions is key to turning this moment of openness into a positive, useful thing that actually has uh, good effects on relational satisfaction. Okay, so we know it's not just about the content of our communication, it's about the way this communication is done. Another thing that is important when it comes to relationship satisfaction is the perception that partners have of one another. Seeing one's partner positively means seeing them as capable of meeting your needs, seeking closeness in difficult times, fostering a sense of security in a relationship, and this leads to increased quality in the functioning of the relationship. The perception of a partner's problems, it's much more important for relationship satisfaction than the perception of one's own problems. And when we are able to elaborate a positive perception, this can also be called idealization of our partner, meaning that they do gain a special meaning and place for us. So people have different predispositions and ability in terms of pro-social motifs, openness to understanding other people's needs, and effectiveness decoding social cues and expressing personal emotions. So keeping a stable, effective, open communication is not equally easy for everyone. Having that said, let's see what studies say infertile women feel, perceive, experience regarding relationship satisfaction. So representations about the importance of parenthood is directly linked to life satisfaction, and it can also be mediated by perceived impact of infertility in various life domains. The relationship between this perception and life satisfaction can also be moderated by marital satisfaction and resilience. So we can say that the greater a woman's relationship satisfaction and resilience are, the lower the impact of the importance attributed to parenthood on her life satisfaction. Stress perceived by both partners affects the relationship satisfaction of infertile spouses, and of course, infertility can have a negative impact on the mental well-being and sexual relationships of partners. Of course, there are lots of studies about this, and we could explore a bit further how this association happens. So what I would like us to do now is to look at practical things and exercises that people can do to improve their communication regarding their romantic partner. Of course, these exercises do have an impact not just in your relationship, but on your personal life, on your insight, introspection, on yourself, on your self-esteem, all of these things. So the impact is not just related to your relationship, but to you as well. Okay, so first of all, if we were to sort of look at a graphic representation of the intensity and proximity that we associate with the term romantic partner, we would say that from green to red, red being more intense and green being less intense, we would definitely rate it at an orange or red. Nevertheless, it is common and okay to disagree, to misunderstand the other person, to feel different things or the same thing in different ways, to have different timings to start and or quit things, to feel motivated by different reasons, and to love or like someone and feel other things for them at the same time. The first exercise is based on Sternberg's theory of love called love triangle. Each vertex is a component, intimacy, commitment, or passion, that then can be joined in different edges, and if they're all present in the relationship, then it sort of creates the full triangle. Commitment is important to keep stability, seriousness, and common goals. Intimacy is important to keep closeness, complicity, and honesty, and passion is important to keep the flame going. It's like the glue of passionate love, and it's the more sexual or sensual part of things. So we have just liking someone, which is intimacy, and this is something that we can have with friends. So it's when we are able to be close, honest, we feel like this person is on our side and it's a good partner, we can trust this person. Then we have commitment. Commitment is called just empty love because it's when we are together just for the sake of an agreement, or because we think it's easier to keep things this way, or because it's stable, and it can be very contractual. And then we have passion. When it's the only thing present, it's called infatuation, or when we have sexual attraction towards someone. If we combine intimacy with commitment, we have a companion. So it's someone with whom we like to be with, we are close to them, we trust them, and we think it kind of makes sense to be with this person because we know we have common goals and it's a stable thing. If, on the other hand, we combine intimacy with passion, then we have romantic love. This is someone with whom we like to be intimate in terms of sexual intercourse, or with whom we share very personal things, and we feel like we can trust this someone, and there's honesty there, but there's no commitment. Then, if we join passion with commitment, we have fatuous love, meaning that there is this glue and sensuality, and there is also some stability and understanding that we should be together, but there isn't really a sense of closeness and trust. When intimacy, passion, and commitment are together, we have something called consummated love, which is basically the full triangle. It's important to ask ourselves, what does the love I share with my partner look like? And this is an exercise we should do on our own to understand our own understanding of our foundations, but also invite your partner to do so, and then sort of compare where you think you are. It's quite fun sometimes to do this exercise. And other times it can be quite triggering if disagreements exist, but it can be a great opportunity for growth. The second exercise is called retrospective hourglass. This is a joint exercise, so you should do it with your partner. It's also very visual, and it's going to be very art therapy based. It's arts and crafts. And it sort of allows you to keep a physical memento of this reflection. Basically, we want to do this to be able to think back, put things into perspective, and gain some knowledge regarding the other person. So basically, it would be great if you could have a piece of cardboard, and you would just draw a line across it, and this line represents when you and your partner met or started dating. On the top, you should glue a photo of you before you met your partner, draw a line to the present, and have another photo of you now, and then you do the same with your partner, basically creating an hourglass shape that sort of joins you at the moment of meeting and then coexisting now in the present. And then it would be important for you to then, on this same piece of cardboard, write, both of you on individual green squares, things that you wanted or were looking for in your personal romantic life before you met, things that you dreamt about or you thought you wanted, goals that you had, and then do the same on red squares regarding things that you believe you could have been doing better, or you could have had in a better condition if your partner had been with you, things that sort of weren't complete without that relationship in your life. And you can get really creative. You can mention a bunch of stuff if you want. And then we are going to do the same for the present moment. You're going to state things that you have due to this relationship, and even things that you discovered that you wanted or you learned you liked because you had the opportunity and you have the opportunity to be with this person. And then you are going to write on the red squares things that you still feel aren't working out, things that are still missing, or things that you dislike. And basically, this visual representation can give you a sense of things that you're grateful for, and yet things that you feel should improve. The second exercise is called the 20 minutes together, and basically you would want to do this daily or fairly frequently throughout your week to reconnect with your partner and to dedicate a moment to your relationship exclusively. So what you want to do is find a comfortable position in a safe space without television, laptops, phones, or other people around. And you want to look at each other and focus solely on the other person. Do not do this during meal times or in a rush or between important events. Make sure that this moment is completely relaxed and that you have the availability to dedicate to your partner. You can talk or be quiet. If you do want to talk, then you can start with 5 minutes of just silence, being quiet, and then you move on to 5 minutes talking. And you can talk and express yourself freely, and your partner cannot interfere or walk away. If you cannot fill the 5 minutes entirely, that's okay, but don't move on to the next step. Just wait until the remaining seconds end. When you are using your 5 minutes, you should use iMessages. Do not use sarcasm or passive aggression, and you should show true emotions and try to empathize, but be mindful that the goal here is for you to express yourself as authentically as you can. As you are listening to your partner, you want to have a stance of acceptance and just listening to it no matter what emotions it evokes from you. Try not to have a nonverbal communication that's too triggering. Again, in your 5 minutes, you have your opportunity to express yourself, but when you are listening, just try and listen. When you do this exercise multiple times, I recommend that if you do want to talk, people alternate having the first 5 minutes to express themselves. Then you end with 5 minutes of silence again, after which you can choose to continue a conversation or not. The next exercise is called Adversity as a Mean and Not an End, and this is a visual representation of what you should be doing. This is not an exercise that you need to do with your significant other. This is something that you can do yourself, and this is a thought exercise more than anything else. Basically, we can see adversity as a very constricting and suffocating thing. So it can be represented as a spiral that's just pressuring you. It's this spiral of negativity, and sometimes we can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. And I do like the deconstruction of this spiral into just moments that make up our life. They do not define us per se, and they aren't the end. They aren't all that is meaningful to us. They are just difficult situations that are happening. We do not have control over everything, but we are always able to have an impact on our situation. And I like this visual representation, and sometimes I use it to literally write what adversity I'm facing, and sometimes it can be trouble after trouble, adversity after adversity, and it just helps me think about how life is that complex. But each situation is a crisis and can also be an opportunity for growth. What can each adversity bring me as an opportunity for growth? For example, we can have a lot of fighting with our significant other, inability to conceive, lack of sexual desire, and then this all affects our work performance. And I would say that, okay, I am having a lot of arguments. I am going to implement the exercises that we previously talked about, and I'm going to invest in doing them. If my spouse is not open to it, I'm going to be working on self-care and maybe look into couples therapy and couples counseling to move us forward. And if I cannot conceive, I am going to try and talk to a fertility clinic if I'm not doing so yet. And if I am, I'm going to expose these concerns that I'm having with my doctor, and hopefully they can help me figure out what's the next step. But if they can't, I might look into a psychologist that can help me figure these things out and sort of organize my life. And I can also do a self-check checklist for me to just see on things that I can improve and next steps that I can take regarding my quality of life, mental health, and happiness. Regarding sexual desire, is this important to look into right now? Is it a secondary thing? Is it, an outcome of us arguing so much? Or Is this something that I should try to fix right away? What are my priorities? And if things aren't really working in that department, again, maybe a couples therapist could really help us out here. And having an open, honest conversation about sexuality is very important. And so your partner should definitely be also a part of this discussion. And then lastly, at work, what are the things that I am able to separate between my personal life and my work life? And what are some simple goals that I can establish for me to feel better at work? And is there a way for me to take perhaps some time off? Is there a way for me to share with my employer what's been going on in order for me to have a break? So thinking of solutions and just exploring things that maybe we haven't thought of before. Of course, if we can't do this, again, a mental health care professional can help us do this, or just opening up to someone that we trust, like a friend or family member, can be really, really helpful. And lastly, this isn't an exercise per se, but it is a perspective that I like to share called happiness in truth. So we can think that happiness depends necessarily on what we are doing. Some things are just meant to be accepted as they are, difficult. And so we can just be, carrying this really heavy burden forever because we think that's just how life is and I can't do anything about it. I don't necessarily agree with this point of view. And so you could argue that then what I'm saying is that something can be sad and yet be perceived as better or happier if we try to change our goggles. Just suck it up, put a smile on, and just fake it until you make it. Which isn't what I'm saying. You would still be carrying this burden, perhaps in denial, and carrying the, just mental distress of the psychological burden of having to carry all of this and still have to put on a front of happiness. This isn't at all what I'm saying, and I think this can even be a little bit worse than the first option. What I am saying is that happiness comes from understanding, comes from pacing yourself, being grateful for the resources that you have, but still being aware that you want more. It's having the mental ability to attain more, embrace uncertainty, and establish realistic goals. Happiness isn't just a matter of, point of view. It is a matter of exploring who you are, what the situation is, what you want, and what life has to offer. So it's a much more holistic and complex concept than we might think. It isn't just made of feeling, it is made of a state of being, psychological ability, resources that you have at your availability. It's made of a bunch of stuff. And exploring these things can really help us see happiness in our own personal truth. If that isn't something that you can do and you find yourself in a really, really difficult position, you are completely miserable or sad, or you just aren't feeling right, then again, I advise you to contact a mental health care professional, psychologist, counselor, therapist who is accredited, and that can help you through those feelings and moments. These are just some of the exercises. Of course, we could be exploring a lot more exercises. If you do want more, you let me know in the comments down below. On our next episode, we will be talking about how to improve resilience as we are trying to conceive. This is our video for today. Thank you so much for joining me. And if you want to write me an email, you can reach me via beatrice@efp.clinic. Thank you, and I hope to see you here next time.